Let's start the webinar. Okay.
We're good. Give us 1 second, folks. We're having some audio issues. We are going to fix that in 1 second.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Shaka King, and I'm honored to be your host for the next hour. We are all here to ensure that Sundiata comes home to his family and his community. Um, I was first exposed to his case doing research for my film Judas and the Black Messiah. And as outraged and as I think many people have been in learning this sort of chapter in America's history in terms of the efforts that were taken by the government to crush Black liberation. Beyond the assassination attempts, uh, I think people should, be outraged about the fact that a lot of these folks, these others who remain alive, remain in prison, like Sundiata Acoli. And so, I support Sundiata because, you know, not only is he a freedom fighter who I have great respect for, but he's an 84-year-old educator, a mentor, a poet, a visual artist, a mathematician, um, a revolutionary and a grandfather, serving his 48th year in prison unjustly.
A message to my supporters. There are many people who are supporting my release by attending benefits, fundraisers, rallies, demonstrations, dances, dinners, Black August concerts, making rap songs, writing poems, making videos and documentaries, attending letter writing parties, making telephone calls, sending faxes, signing and collecting petitions, writing individual letters to the New Jersey Parole Board urging my release, and doing 1,001 other things to support my release. Even if it was just writing a letter to me saying, "Brother, keep your head up, I support you," or "I'd like to visit you," or "Here's $10 for your commissary." Thank each and every one of you from the very bottom of my heart, because I truly appreciate all you've done and everything you do. As I reflect on my life, I was always mindful of the restrictions placed on life in the small area where I was raised. I could never be at peace by turning my back on the masses of people who suffered in so many different ways, whether in the North or the South. I saw so much injustice back then, and so much seeming powerlessness that was caused by the blatant Jim Crow laws in the South and the more subtle forms of Jim Crow in other parts of the United States. The prestige, even if elusive, that came from working with an agency such as NASA could have made me turn my back on those I left behind and caused me to block out the ever-present reality of poverty and racism. I chose not to do that, however, and instead worked in Mississippi to help organize Black people to vote. I worked alongside many who this board would refer to as civil rights activists. I was compelled to do this because I have always had a deep and abiding passion to help organize people and to help them see that in reality they have more power than they are willing to claim. My life started before I joined the Black Panther Party and continues after. Past membership in any organization is not relevant to my current status. I cannot apologize for my membership in a party that helped provide free breakfast for school children, legal clinics, health clinics, tenant control of slum housing, community control against drug dealers, and many other aspects of community work. I was particularly impressed with the party's emphasis on self-reliance, a concept that is so commonly used today, used even by the current president of the United States. Today, it is hailed as a good concept. I do not take lightly the crimes of which I have been convicted that have resulted in my serving over a half of my life in prison, nor is my plea to this board for sympathy. I request that this board release me because there is no objective reason to continue my incarceration. No matter how many more years I am left to spend or languish in prison, that will not change the unfortunate tragedies that occurred on May 2nd, 1973. Black people have come this far by each previous generation sacrificing and struggling so the next generation can do better or certainly not have to suffer the same indignities, hardships, and oppressions of the previous generation. And frankly, oppressed people all over the world have also done this. People do this out of love for their people and oppressed people in general. Too many of our present-day youth are obsessed with getting paid, getting rich quick, getting fame and fortune, big cars, fine clothes, mansions, and etc. to the point where they'll do anything to try getting it, and it's tearing our people apart and leading us towards self-destruction. It's the greatest danger facing our people at this stage and must be turned around. And it's slowly being turned around, and it will be turned around if our youth learn from our elders how to love our people. If released, I look forward to a life with my children and grandchildren, who will take me in as I earn a living for as long as I am an able-bodied man. It is important that I make positive contributions to my community, and it is my desire to see them all again beyond these walls. I thank all of my supporters for your love. Sundiata Akoli.
Peace, greetings, family. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all. Thank you, Brother Hassan Salam, for your message and reading, actually, Baba Sundiata Akoli's message. So thank you. And on behalf of the Bring Sundiata Akoli Home Alliance, I sincerely thank you for joining us this evening. We are here not to sell you a pipe dream about what might be possible, but we're here to invite you to be a part of history and making, and making possible the probable. Over the past decade, we have witnessed over a dozen incarcerated movement elders who were sentenced to die in prison walk out of prison. We're making history, family, and we want you to be a part of it. Many of the people who made these cases possible are currently working tirelessly to bring Sundiata home. We need your support. We need your financial support, to be specific. With the necessary resources, this collective of organizers, activists, attorneys, clergy, and educators will have what we need to ensure Sundiata's release. In the chat, you will see a link to donate. Right now, I invite you all to click on that link and donate. Take a minute, it's in there. Mimi is posting it, Laura is posting it. Find the link in the chat, and we ask you to click that link and donate. If you prefer to write a check, you can make your check payable to the Bring Sundiata Akoli Home Alliance, care of NAABPP, P.O. Box 7978, Garden City, New York, 11530. And checks should be made out to NAABPP. Please be sure to write Sundiata in the memo section. We'll be repeating this information, and will be up on screen throughout the evening. For electronic donations, also, please indicate Sundiata Akoli in the memo or note section. We have a goal of raising $300,000. And already we have received a donation of $30,000 and a pledge of $10,000. We are on our way. So let's resource this campaign so Sundiata can return home to his family, community, and loved ones. All right, so right now, it's time to take a quick poll. All right, we want to hear from you. We want you to tell us how many people do you think are incarcerated in and by New Jersey? How many elders, excuse me, are incarcerated in and by New Jersey? So take a quick minute, and I want to see what you say. So please engage with the poll. We have one more poll that we'll be sharing with you all throughout the evening. Take a quick minute and let us know what you think. I see a lot of people saying 3,850, 1,750. Nobody believes there's only 250 people. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, it looks like it's slowing down. Okay. All right, I'm going to end the poll in 2 more seconds. I see a few people still engaging with the poll. That's good. So in a few more seconds. And if you're done with the poll, feel free to go back to that donation link. All right. We're going to be pumping that all evening. All right. So let's see what you all have said. All right. So 3% have said 250, 30% said 5,000, 45% said 3,850, and 21% said 1,750. Well, let me move this out the way. The answer is actually 5,000. All right. This is an absolute astounding number. What makes Sundiata unique among this number is that he may be the only elder serving time for a New Jersey state conviction in a federal prison. So to be clear, Sundiata does not have a federal conviction, yet he is incarcerated in a federal prison. So what we're doing today is not only going to impact Sundiata, we're talking about making sure that all elders who are incarcerated in New Jersey are able to be treated with dignity, that they may be able to go home to their family and loved ones. All right, so thank you all for participating in the poll. And I will be back with you in a second, and we're going to continue with the program. Thank you all.
As Sundiata approaches his 49th year of incarceration, we remember the dozens of other movement elders incarcerated and serving life sentences. Many of those movement elders have been released. In 2014, after spending over 43 years in prison, former Black Panther Marshall Eddie Conway was also released. Here to share with us his experiences and why it's important we bring Sundiata home is movement elder Marshall Eddie Conway.
Yes, thanks for including me. I spent 44 years, obviously, in the Maryland penitentiary system and went in as a movement activist. I was targeted, even though they treated our cases during that era as criminal cases, they treated us individually as political cases. The way they reacted to us when we got in. When I got in, there was already a hostility that eventually led to a lot of harassment from the correctional officers. I spent 6 of the first 7 years in solitary confinement because of my political position and the activities and the actions that we were doing in the community to protect the community and improve the community. So following that, there was always this stigma. People that are engaged in political activities back in the 70s and even 80s or 90s were highly respected by the prisoners. The prison population is very supportive of people like that with that status, but the guard force and the administration is constantly trying to destroy the spirit of those people that are activists, so that they won't set an example for the rest of the population. They try to destroy their family and their support system by attempting to criminalize them. Personally, myself, there was 3 attempts to assassinate me by prison officials during the period that I was incarcerated. And the impact of all of their constant pressure is it's it causes a political prisoner or an elder or an activist to have to be self-contained because you're moved around. You're always presented with certain threats from officials, not from the prison population itself. Uh, Eventually, you lose your family. Eventually, you lose the kind of contact that you need to be a whole and healthy person. Uh, your children grow up, your grandchildren grow up, you miss all the events of their life. And what you see is other people with similar cases um, going home constantly. Uh, some of them with cases that make your case pale in the face of it. Uh, but because they have put that political stigma and label on you, you can't get any relief. Other people might have 4 or 5 times the amount of time you have, and they still go home. Um, and that's a, a personal thing that's being done by the law enforcement unions, etc. Uh, and it's being done to discourage people from protesting, discourage people from being activists, discourage people from trying to organize their community uh, and trying to gain control over the resources in their communities so they can have a better life. Uh, all these things are things that are used against that elder, that incarcerated elder. Uh, and it's also another aspect of this that people don't see a lot, and that's the aspect of the the prosecutors, the judges, the people involved initially in the case continue to gain fame and reputation from the success of that prosecution and that case, and they don't want to allow it to change or to be overturned or to show that they actually honestly have made a mistake or even to show that they are doing something that's above and beyond how all other American citizens are treated. Um, so let me stop there for a minute. Yeah, people always ask me when I speak, wherever I'm speaking at, uh, how did you survive 44 years in the prison system? Um, and I always tell them that it's just the fact that tens of thousands of people supported me. I got postcards or I got letters, but there were fundraisers. There were people across the country always doing stuff. It was that kind of stuff that strengthened me, strengthened my spirit, kept me uh, hopeful that we would be successful. I've never lost hope because of that tremendous support out in the street. And that's important for not just political prisoners, but it's important for all prisoners because uh, when you lose contact with your community, you lose contact with your family, and you become diminished, and then it is easier to abuse you when you are diminished. But when you're in your full self and your spirit is strong and you have hope, then you're going to stand on principled grounds. Um, and so, knowing that these tens of thousands of people were out there was the thing that caused me to survive. Of course, the other piece of that was it also caused me to continue to do work to help brothers in the prison system itself and become a mentor. Uh, like our brother Sundiata is, he's a mentor, have been a mentor. In fact, he mentored me, in fact, in terms of my first book. My first book that I wrote, I sent it to him and he marked it up and sent it back, you know. So it's time to bring Sundiata home.
Thank you, Marshall Eddie Conway, for your moving story. We strongly believe in utilizing our platform as artists to contribute to the transformation of our communities and world. We are excited to bring you a special group of artists that have contributed their voices to the campaign to bring Sundiata home. This video is being exclusively debuted today, and we hope you will share it as well, because it's time to bring Sundiata home.
Sundiata Acoli is 84 years old. He's been in prison for 48 years.
Since 1994, he has been denied parole 6 times, even though he has taken responsibility and expressed remorse for his actions as a younger man.
In September 2014, a New Jersey State Appeals Court granted Sundiata's request for parole. 3 years later, a higher court reversed this ruling.
In New Jersey, people serving a life sentence are eligible for parole in 25 years. He has served twice that.
Sundiata has not had any disciplinary infractions in over 2.5 decades.
As an elder, his health has been deteriorating daily.
He's being treated for advancing dementia, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, emphysema, and glaucoma.
Sundiata Acoli has served 48 years in prison. He's now 84 years old and has lost nearly 30 pounds due to a battle with COVID this past year that nearly ended his life.
He has served more than enough time.
It's time to bring Sundiata home.
It's time to bring Sundiata home.
It is time to bring Sundiata home.
I'm Robert Wisdom. I urge you to join the movement and bring your voices together to say it's time to bring Sundiata home.
In August, a number of faith-based leaders led by Reverend Lukata Mjumbe assembled at the New Jersey Turnpike above the site of the tragic incident that took the lives of Zaid Shakur and Trooper Werner Forrester. They offered prayers of justice and forgiveness in this very moving video. And we invite Reverend Lukata Mjumbe to get us into the spirit of giving.
And Sundiata, we are praying for you. We are standing here on this hallowed ground, on this sacred site. We are praying for healing, for forgiveness, for hope, for reconciliation, and to bring you home. Good evening. I am the Reverend Lukata Mjumbe, and I am the pastor of the Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church based here in Princeton, New Jersey. I have an African name, which means dynamic representative of the legacy. Sundiata Acoli gave me my African name almost 30 years ago. I first connected with Sundiata after reading about his political history and writing him a letter in the mail, and I was surprised when he wrote me back. I was a grassroots community organizer in the Southeast, and I was learning about the prison system in the United States, the struggle for justice and the Black liberation movement for the first time. Back in 1994, Sundiata had been in prison over 20 years and had recently been rejected for parole for the first time. And I could not understand for the life of me why he was still in prison. Over time, Sundiata and I began to communicate regularly by handwritten letter and his phone calls from the prison. For me, he became a tutor, a mentor, and a source of wise counsel that was able to keep me focused and even calm as a fiery young activist who had run out of financial aid and had dropped out of college in the middle of my senior year. Family, I thought that I was never going back. I had seen it happen for so many in my family, so many in my community, and as the cost of college increased every year, I thought there was nothing that I could do. However, Sundiata never allowed me to think that my dropout was the end of my journey. Sundiata is so much more to me than an icon or a symbol or someone that we put on a sign. And as much as we communicated over the next few years, Sundiata and I talked about my commitment to grassroots organizing in the rural Black Belt South, and how if I really wanted to serve the people, I needed to stay committed to the struggle and also go back to school. Over the years, I have tried my best to represent Sundiata and so many women and men who should not be in prison. Sundiata has struggled under horrific conditions that most of us could never even imagine. Nevertheless, the aging artist, mathematician, poet, father, grandfather, freedom fighter, he always wanted to talk more about me and my responsibilities as a new husband and father, and the communities that we both loved even more than our shared hopes for his release from prison. You know, I remember years ago, it was one evening, and I remember asking Sundiata on a phone conversation, and it was hard to hear him over the background noise. And so I asked him, I said, so when do you think that you will come home from prison? He answered, why are you asking me? The people will decide when I come home, right? He said, the state does not ultimately decide when those that they call political prisoners will come home. The people make that decision. And Sundiata always believed that we can count on the people. And I came to see the truth of that belief be made manifest in my own life. The people, the grassroots communities of those same Black, poor communities where I had been organizing, ultimately passed the hat at barbecues and fish fries, and at the end of community meetings to ultimately pay off my balance so that I could return to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and graduate with honors. And over the next 7 years, with crumpled collections of cash and personal checks for $25 and $50 and more, the people paid my tuition and freed me from college debt. The people made a decision, as they said, you know, you're too smart not to finish school. And 11 years after I had started college and had dropped out, the people decided that I was going to finally graduate and be, yes, what Sundiata called me, their, quote, dynamic representative. Yet, beloved, 48 years later, Sundiata Acoli is still in prison. We have to ask ourselves, and I ask you tonight, when will we make the decision? When will we decide? Family, we have to decide to bring him home. Like Sundiata, those who are a part of this Bring Sundiata Acoli Home Alliance, we have hope. And we have hope to believe that we can count on the people right now. Yes, as it's been said, tens of thousands of people have marched, have protested, have disrupted press conference, have called governors and elected officials, have signed petitions and written letters and sent postcards and organized poems and songs and music and artistic expressions. And all of this is critically important and must continue. One of the things that Sundiata also taught me is that the more sweat that we have in times of peace, the less blood in times of war. Yet as a pastor who serves a God who was falsely accused and also a political prisoner, I have also learned that we must commit our time, our talent, and our treasure. We need resources to bring Sundiata home. We need to decide. We need to be able to count on the people again. We need to pass the hat in a big way. We need collections of crumpled cash and checks of 25 and 50 and 5,000 and 10,000 pledges. Thank you, Brother Shaka. And even more now, back in 1994, back in the 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have all of the electronic means for which with the press of a button that we could provide resources, that we could sow seeds. And we have artists, entertainers, activists, businesses, celebrities, churches, mosques, synagogues, investment groups, academicians that could write checks or drop PayPal contributions for tens of thousands of dollars and more right now. I'll wait. Right now. Please go to that chat. Please go to the link. Please, yes, take my screen off of your screen and go and make those contributions, because family, we need to tithe for our freedom. We need to sow seeds. We need to invest. We need to put our money where our messengers are. And too many of them, like Sundiata, are locked and bound in prison cells. Whatever freedoms we have to understand that they have not been free. They've been bought, paid for by those who have gone before us, by some who are still with us. And we need to raise $300,000, as Lumumba said, because we are running out of time, and we need to accelerate and advance this decision to bring Sundiata home right now. Like Sundiata, we have to believe that we can count on the people right now. 48 years. 84 years old, going on 85 in January. It's been a long time since I first connected with Sundiata. Today, he is older. Today, he's a strong brother, but he is sicker. He's struggling. He needs us now more than ever, and we have to have hope that shows up. We have to have faith that is made manifest. We have to have commitment that goes beyond our words and the movement of our mouths right now. Make your contribution. Plant your seed. Commit your tithe. Reach out and talk to the 5 wealthiest people that you know, whether they be family or friends. If you have their phone number, their email address, text them, email them, call them and say, brother, sister, family, I need for you to sow in. If not now, then when? If not us, then who? The people will decide when we bring Sundiata home. Have you made the decision yet? If you haven't contributed, whether it be a crumpled up $20 bill or a $25 check or a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 pledge or contribution, if you have not yet put your money where our messengers are, then you have not yet made that decision. Let's decide, family, to bring Sundiata home. Let's make the decision right now, in this hour, before any more time has passed, that we will bring Sundiata home. Thank you in advance for what you've already done, for what you're doing right now and for what you will do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Family, bear with us. We have one more video coming up. We are halfway through. Give us 1 second.
Lumumba, it's time for Sophia and Bonnie, Laura, and Franz right now.
It's all right. He's just giving us more time so we can get these contributions in.
That's right.
That you've been blessed with a break, so you can go ahead and make those contributions. So in right now, we must use time creatively with the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. That information is in the chat. Please donate to the Sundiata Acoli campaign. There's all kinds of ways that you can do it. Please sew in right now. We have to do it right now. Time is running out.
All right, Sister Sophia, are you ready?
I am. But remember, I think you have to activate my video. I don't seem to be able to do it.
Okay.
And that's probably the case for the other people with whom I'll be speaking.
You should be able to turn your video on now.
Okay. There I am. All right, do I have Bonnie and Laura and Franz? There they are. Hi, good evening. So, first of all, I want to share with our audience why we're going to be talking together. Each of us in our own unique way has a very special relationship to Sundiata and to this effort to free him. And so we're going to engage in a brief conversation about what he means to each of us and how we got involved with this campaign and him. And I think I'm going to start with you, Bonnie. Bonnie Kernes from the American Friends Service Committee of New Jersey. How did you first get involved with the effort to free Sundiata?
I've known Sundiata since about 1989, but I really, in some ways, met him before then as a human rights advocate working in New Jersey. I knew that the New Jersey Management Control Unit was built for Sundiata Acoli. One of the ways my generation knew that there were political prisoners were because they were treated so differently than other prisoners. So I had heard of Sundiata. I knew his story. And through him, I learned the wider story of political prisoners and began working. And I see Nancy Kirshen is in the audience. She led the fight against the use of solitary confinement for everyone, but particularly political prisoners. I had the privilege of meeting him in 1989 in Lewisburg visiting with Ali Bey Hassan. And it's hard for me to think of or feel anything but joy when I think of Sundiata. He was an extraordinary mentor who always said to me, work on the issues. If you're working on behalf of me, you have to push forth the issues. And the issues were isolation, which we called no-touch torture. And right now, the issue that's sweeping the country is elders in prison. And we need to bring them all home. We need to bring Sundiata home.
Thank you, Bonnie. So I'm going to move now to Franz Michel. I know you have a very unique relationship to this campaign and to Sundiata, and I invite you to share that with the audience.
Oh, I absolutely do. Sundiata, I met Sundiata when he was in his 40th year of incarceration. I was incarcerated with him. I was serving 2 life sentences, and he became like a mentor. You know, I mean, an amazing spirit. You know, I was on my 9th year at the time, and Sundiata, there's like really no words to describe the type of human being that he is, you know, especially after serving 40 years. I heard Lukata speak about what he's been through, and what Bonnie also spoke about, what Sundiata has been through. And for him to have that spirit, you know, that magnanimous spirit, and to be able to help others in the situation he was in was amazing. You know, like I said, he became a mentor, and throughout the fight, you know, I was fighting for my life at the same time. And for me to be on this call today to speak about him and the fight to help release him is definitely by grace. I was given a clemency, you know, what we're fighting for Sundiata to get. I was given clemency by President Obama in 2016, you know, and I have an opportunity to be out here today. And it's because of Sundiata, so many men have come out of prison with a different mindset, you know, a mindset to help the community, a mindset to become better fathers, a mindset to love your neighbor, you know, and like there's just no words to express what he's done for me personally. So going into that place, you know, it's like a nightmare, but to run into a man like Sundiata, it's like a light shining upon you. So I was blessed to actually be in a prison with him. And we all know Sundiata is not even supposed to be in the federal prison system. So it was just meant to be for me to be on this call tonight. So I thank everyone that's supporting him. You know, I'm a huge supporter. You know, please give those donations. It's extremely important for us to get Sundiata home. 48 years, you know, I met him on the 40th year. And it's rough, you know, 84 years old. Our elders are suffering, and everyone should be in this fight. Everyone should be in this fight to help him get released.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you so much. And Laura Whitehorn, please tell us why this is so important to you. Go for it.
Well, to me, you know, first of all, it's really an honor to be in this crowd here tonight. And we've been together, a lot of us, for a lot of years. And one thing I want to say, and Franz, it was so great to hear you speak finally, as opposed to just being in a meeting with you. Because one of the things for years when we were fighting for the freedom of political prisoners, and we used to say, no one knows that there are political prisoners in this country. No one knows about that. But then when you get into a crowd of some of the 2 million and more people who have done time in prison in this country, they know who political prisoners are, because everyone was moved by the grace and the mentorship and the leadership of Sundiata and other people. So I did time in prison myself. And when I did, I saw the idiocy, the waste, the brutality, the racism of long prison sentences. And with Sophia and others, two other formerly incarcerated people and me and Sophia, we began to struggle in New York in something called Release Aging People in Prison, for the concept that there are all of these aging people in prison because of the criminalization of Black people, because of the use of insanely long sentences in order to repress any kind of resistance from happening again, like what happened in the time of the Panthers, which, by the way, is when I first came into consciousness of Sundiata, around the time of the Panthers that he was talking about in his statement, and that we will never end the repression against Black communities and brown communities without ending the incarceration system. And we'll never do that without freeing political prisoners. And we'll never do that without ending these life sentences and fighting for parole and release of elders. Sundiata is someone who has brought joy through the years to me, through all our correspondence, through everything that we have been connected in, because he has such grace. I mean, here is a man who has suffered not only the 48 years of incarceration, but before then, the repression of the Black Panthers. And instead of being bitter and angry and just railing against it, he creatively creates a humane kind of context in which to assert all of our humanity and the joy of struggling for freedom. And so, you know, everyone who gets a letter from him says that you feel his spirit despite his being so ill, despite his being 84 years old. And I'll just end by saying I'm 76 now, and I wasn't even 30 when he went to prison. I remember the day that he went to prison. And for him to have so much beauty and grace, you saw his artwork, he gives us all something. And this is why he must be freed, and we must raise this money. So if you know anyone who's not here, send them the link. Send them the link to this video, send them the link to donate. Let's raise the money and let's raise the roof to free Sundiata and bring Sundiata home.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. So family, we are almost out of time for this section, but I will just share just briefly. It's been over 30 years that I've been struggling to get Sundiata out of prison. Now, some might say that's a testament to my not being the best of lawyers. Others might say this really reflects how determined the New Jersey State Troopers and the parole board are to bury him alive in prison. But I am confident, and I know Sundiata is too, that the people together, we can free him. And I know that we will. I'll end there. Just one quick anecdote. Earlier today, Sundiata called while I was on a strategy meeting with our communications team. And he said, Sophia, isn't that thing with Shaka tonight? And I was like, yeah, Sundiata, that thing with Shaka is tonight. She said, well, I better get off the phone then so you can get busy working on that. And he hung up. That was the end of the conversation. But he's really excited that we're doing this tonight, and you'll hear from him later on. So remember, with that, I'm going to turn the virtual mic back over to you. Thank you, Franz, Bonnie, and Laura for joining us this evening.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. So what I want to do now is do another poll. So I'm going to see where everyone is so that we can get a sense of if y'all are ready. All right. Can we count on you? Can Sundiata count on you to give today? All right. So please let us know. All right. Are you all in? You're trying to figure it out. Some of y'all got to wait till payday. That's real. I absolutely get it. Absolutely get it. But we do want to be able to make sure that we have the ability to get some of your support. Some of your support. And some of you are in the chat saying that you wanted to be able to do more. Is writing letters welcome? Absolutely. People ask, are checks better? Whatever your preference is, if you prefer to write a check, please do. Absolutely welcomed. Again, the address and the instructions on how to write snail mail checks are in the chat. And so we want to be able to make sure that we can get your support. All right. If you're still undecided, I'm going to ask you to really sit with the message from Reverend Lukata Mjumbe that Sundiata comes home when we decide it's time for him to come home. And we're saying now that what we need are the resources to make this happen. We know how to bring him home. We've seen over the past few years, many of his comrades and colleagues like Marshall Eddie Conway, who are home. We know what needs to be done. All right, so let's see where you all are. All right, 79% said y'all are all in. I was hoping for 95, but that's cool. All right, so we're gonna see if we can get the Let Me See folks to shift, and we're gonna see if the Gotta Wait Till Payday folks will pay once they get paid. All right, so we wanna continue to share the donations with your friends and networks. We're gonna keep this moving. All right, we're gonna keep it going. Thank you. Janet, I think you're up next.
Lumumba, I'm sorry, I seem to have lost the ability to share my screen. Thank you very much. I've got it now, thank you.
Thank you all for joining this evening's fundraiser. It is an honor for me to contribute my voice and name to this great effort to bring Sundiata home. In preparation for this event, Sundiata wrote a message, and he asked that it be shared with everyone in attendance this evening. The message reads, "I'd like to thank you all for supporting my campaign for freedom. Words are inadequate to express how much this means to me. I look forward to the day when I can thank you all in person. Sundiata, 11/9/21." On behalf of the Bring Sundiata Home Alliance and Sundiata Akoli, we sincerely appreciate all of you, the work that you do, and your commitment to bring Sundiata home.
Did you know there are nearly 5,000 elders incarcerated in New Jersey's prisons? 84-year-old Sundiata Akoli is one of them. Sundiata has served over 48 years in prison, more than twice his original sentence. Sundiata has expressed remorse, and despite that, the parole board has unjustly denied his release 8 times. Now Sundiata is suffering from early stages of dementia, and his health has declined drastically, due in part to his hospitalization for COVID-19. It is time to treat our elders like Sundiata with compassion and humanity. It is time for Sundiata to come home. It is time for Governor Phil Murphy to release Sundiata and send him home to the love and care of his family. It is time for us to treat all of our incarcerated elders with dignity and humanity. Please join the tens of thousands of voices calling for Sundiata's release, and please give generously and learn more about him at sundiataakolifc.org. Thank you.
I thank you for spending this evening with us and encourage you to donate today and share the donation link within your networks. Remember this moment in history. We are witnessing the release of dozens of movement elders who were sentenced to die in prison. Courageous and strategic campaigns have altered that history, so they may be able to join their families and loved ones. With your support, we can add Sundiata Akoli to that list of formerly incarcerated movement elders. We have the mandate and the ability to bring Sundiata home. Thank you also to Sophia Elijah and Reverend Lucata Mjumbe. I personally have been so moved by Sundiata's case that I'll be donating $10,000 to bring him home. And I ask you to please join me in giving, whatever you can give, whether that be $1,000, $500, $100, $25, whatever you can provide, I'm sure he would appreciate. Thank you again to everyone for joining us tonight. Peace and love.
Thank you for coming, family. We appreciate you all. We ask that you continue to donate, and we ask that you all continue to support our campaign. Y'all have a good night.